The door clicked shut behind him. That was the only sound he'd left me with. No uniform, no flag, just a suitcase that wouldn't close. Then the silence started, loud, slow, and certain. Some people leave without goodbye. Some stay by writing letters that never get read. I folded the same paper, used the same pen, sent everyone to the same name. No reply, no return, not even a silence that said, wait. Still, I kept writing, month after month, year after year. I told myself it was hope. But maybe I was the only one still here. After the funeral, I wrote one last letter, just so it wouldn't feel like the end had truly ended. I even checked the mailbox the day after I mailed it, knowing full well it was me who sent it. No one told me to stop, but no one ever asked what I got in return. If you've always been answered, this might not be your story, but if you've ever given everything and still weren't enough, stay. Because some goodbyes don't come with doors closing, just drawers that never get opened again. He left in May, quiet, no uniform, no flag, just one kiss on the forehead and a suitcase that wouldn't close. He said, "I'll write, every week, even if it's just the weather." The first letter came in June, short. He talked about canned peaches and a bird nesting in the barracks. I read it until the ink felt memorized, then nothing. I wrote back anyway, every Friday. I told him about Madeline's first lost tooth, the faucet that still leaked, the neighbor's dog that barked at nothing. I wore my best dress to the post office, as if the envelope knew. By July, the mail stopped feeling like mail. It felt like hope gone stale. August came, then September. No more letters, no goodbye, just empty days. Then, one morning, a man in uniform stood on my porch. He held his hat like it might blow away. His voice was low, too low. I thought he was just lost, that maybe he'd gone off base. I even told myself maybe he found a phone booth and called the wrong number. That's the thing about silence. Your mind will make a map out of fog. He said Harold was MIA, missing in action, presumed lost. I stared at his lips, but all I could hear was the faucet dripping in the kitchen. My brain tried to rewind. Had I missed a letter? A signal? Was this what forgetting to hope felt like? No body? No return? No funeral? I nodded like I understood, but I didn't. I heard the words, but they didn't land. As if they were meant for someone else, they gave me a letter. Not from Harold. From the military. Typed. Signed by someone who had never met him. I asked if there were personal effects. Anything in his handwriting? A second letter? A last thought? The man shook his head. There was nothing. I thanked him. Then I made tea. Burned my fingers. Let the kettle scream. Later, I called his mother. She didn't cry. She said, "Well, at least now we know." But we didn't. She could stop waiting. I couldn't, because I was still folding his shirts. I waited at the mailbox every morning, looked for that crooked slant in his handwriting. I kept writing too. Birthday cards, grocery lists. I wrote like he might read them through someone else's hands. The neighbors stopped asking. Friends said I should go dancing, that I was young. But I wasn't. Not in the ways that matter when you've already started grieving someone not officially gone. Then, I found the envelope. The only one. It had no return address, no closing, just Lorraine at the top. That was it. I read it again and again. I looked for hidden ink, an invisible message, a sentence I had missed, but it never changed. That one letter. It was all I had to prove he once thought of me. I envied the widows. At least they had an ending. I wasn't given grief. I was given questions and told to be grateful for them. Some days I forgot he was gone. Not because I healed, but because there was no proof he ever truly left. No body, no grave, just a missing space where a man used to stand. I went back to work after 2 weeks. The hospital still smelled like bleach and burnt toast. I still smiled at patients, still charted blood pressure, but I stopped humming. Nights stretched longer. The air was louder somehow. Even silence had weight. Madeline asked where he was. I said, "Far away, baby, somewhere warm." She nodded and left him apples on the windowsill, like offerings. One morning, I found her shoes lined up beside his boots. "In case he forgets which are mine," she said. I didn't cry. I made oatmeal, burned it, ate it anyway. I ironed his shirts every Sunday, folded them twice, just like he liked. I checked the mailbox, on Sundays, in the rain, even when the flag was down. I wrote him letters, hundreds. Most started with, "Still nothing." Some ended with, "I don't sleep right without your snore." One just said, "Are you still real?" I kept them in a tin box under the sink, next to the dish towels. Sometimes I opened them, reread them like they belonged to someone braver. I envied the widows. They had gravestones, dates, a reason to wear black. I had a blank page and a one-page letter that faded more each year. I hated that letter sometimes, not for what it said, but for what it didn't. There were nights I feared he had moved on, started over, or worse, forgotten me. I never told anyone that, not even the mirror. Once, at church, a woman said, "Time heals all things." I wanted to scream, to throw the hymnal, to say, "Then tell time to bring him home." But I just smiled, folded the bulletin in half, then in half again, like a prayer I couldn't finish. The neighbors stopped asking. My friends invited me out less. I stopped answering the phone, not out of sadness, just nothing left to say. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was surviving the wait. There's a difference. Waiting has hope, a finish line, a breath held. Surviving is colder. It doesn't count days. It counts how many times you pretend you're okay. I kept pretending. Some days, I almost believed it, until I opened the drawer, touched the letter, held it to my chest, and remembered. I never got to scream. I never got to bury anything. I just kept folding. I found it by accident, in the attic, under a box of Christmas lights, a small brown envelope, my handwriting on the back. It said, "Do not open." I didn't remember writing that, or maybe I did and chose to forget. The paper felt thinner now. The flap was loose. I stared at it for a long time before bringing it downstairs. It had been 42 years. I sat at the kitchen table, the one with the dent from Madeline's baby spoon. I held the envelope like it might change weight if I waited long enough. Then I opened it. There were 2 pages. The first had Harold's handwriting. The second was blank. The written one started simple. "Lorraine," it said. "The rain's been steady today. I saw a boy carry a bird in his helmet. Reminded me of that dove we found in the chimney." I remembered. He had named it Franklin. It flew away the next day. Then, silence. The rest of the page was empty. No closing, no date, no love, Harold. The second page was untouched, clean, not even creased. I held it up to the light, wondering if I'd missed something. Invisible ink, water damage, anything. But no. He just stopped. I folded the pages, put them back in the envelope, left them on the table, and stared at the kettle. I thought I heard the whistle, but it hadn't started. Later that week, I drove to see Mr. Calloway. He had served with Harold. We hadn't spoken in years. He opened the door slowly, no surprise in his eyes, just that tired look old soldiers carry like a badge. We sat in silence. Then I slid the letter toward him. He didn't read it, just stared. After a long pause, he said, "He wrote that right after Hill 37. I nodded. I remembered that name. It was in the telegram. The one that said, "Missing, presumed lost." Then Calloway added, "He made it out. Hurt, but alive." My ears rang. I remembered once, during a power cut, Harold said, "If I ever disappear, don't come looking. Just light a candle and live bigger than I left." I laughed back then, thought he was being dramatic. But now, it sounded like a man rehearsing his own absence. I remembered the day he taught Madeline how to whistle. The porch smelled like burnt toast. The dog next door barked at nothing. He laughed when she got it right. And I remember thinking, this is what staying feels like. I stopped breathing for a moment. My hands felt cold. "He didn't come back," I said. "No," Calloway said. "He thought you deserved more, not a life spent waiting. He thought if he left the page blank, maybe you'd write a new one. But you don't need closure from someone who already closed the door." I wanted to believe him, but something in me hesitated. "Did he say that?" I asked. Calloway looked away. "He said something like it." That's when I knew. Maybe that was what Calloway needed to believe. Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't ask more. I thanked him. Left the letter on the passenger seat all the way home. That night, I almost put it back in the attic. Part of me thought I'd save it for Madeline. Let her decide what it meant. But then I realized that would be passing down the waiting. So I sat on the porch and read the letter again. This time aloud. "Lorraine, the rain's been steady today." When I finished, I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I looked at the empty page. Maybe he didn't know how to end it. Maybe he wanted me to. Or maybe he didn't write more because he didn't want me looking back. Maybe the blank space was the point. But another part of me whispered, maybe he just didn't care enough to finish. And that part hurt. There was no way to know which truth was real. So I picked one. Not because it was easier, but because it was the only way forward. I whispered, "If you were here, I'd ask why. But since you're not, I'll just say goodbye." I folded the letter once, then again, and again until it fit in the palm of my hand. I walked to the fireplace. I held it there for a moment, and I nearly pulled back. But I didn't. I lit the match. As the paper curled, I felt the weight leave my body. Not because I found peace, but because I stopped looking for answers. Some stories don't end. They just stop, and that's their ending. Harold didn't give me closure, but maybe closure was never his to give. I still don't know if he meant to leave me, but I know I'm done leaving myself behind. I didn't tell anyone. Not Madeline, not the neighbors, not even the woman at the store who always asked about my weekend. It was Tuesday. Sky gray, leaves brittle. The kind of day that doesn't ask questions. I took the tin box from under the sink, the one with all the letters, mine, his, the one-page ghost I had folded 100 times. I sat with it on my lap for a long while, almost opened it, almost read one more, almost carried it back upstairs, almost, but I didn't. I went to the old bus depot on Elm. It's been closed for years, but the drop slot still worked. I slid the letters in, every page, every plea, every version of myself that waited. No return address, no name, just paper, just wait, and then less. The walk home felt different. I noticed the air again, the sound my shoes made, the way the sun caught the window. At home, I opened the drawer where his watch used to be, the one I never touched. I slipped in one last letter. It didn't say goodbye. It didn't say please. It said, I stayed. That was my mistake, but it was also my miracle. No signature. I folded it once, then again. Let it rest where no one would find it. That night, I used the good teacup, sat on the porch, let the steam touch my face. Madeline called. She asked if I needed anything. I said, no, baby, I'm good. And I was. Not because he wrote back, not because I got answers, but because I gave myself something he never did. Not a clean goodbye. A quiet one, just for me. The porch was quiet that morning. Just wind, a bird somewhere. The soft clink of a teacup. I used the good one again. No reason, just did. The sun came through the trees in pieces, like it wasn't sure where to land. I let it rest on my hands. Madeline's car pulled in around 10. I heard the gravel before I saw them. June ran up first, sticky fingers, giggling. She didn't ask about Harold. She never knew him. She just climbed into the chair beside me, the one that used to stay empty. She didn't hesitate, just sat. No asking if it was his. No sense that the space held any weight. Like it had always been waiting for her instead. And maybe it had. Madeline sat across from me. No words. Just a soft nod. We used to do that, back when we didn't need language to mean something. June reached for my cup. I gave her a sip. She made a face and said, "It tastes like leaves." I laughed. It caught me by surprise. Real, sharp, from somewhere I thought had closed. She picked up a folded napkin and tried to smooth it flat. Pressed every corner. Tried again. I watched her, and I remembered all the things I folded to keep from unraveling. Letters, shirts, bulletins, parts of myself. But her fingers didn't shake. She wasn't folding to hold anything in. She was just playing. Free, like nothing had ever left her yet. That night, I opened the drawer where I kept the letter. Madeline once said to me, "I used to think you were waiting for him, but now I know. You were waiting for yourself to come back, the one I wrote for me." I didn't reread it, not because I forgot, but because I no longer needed proof that I had survived. I placed it back in the tin, closed the lid, sat outside again. Same tea, still warm. Same porch, new air. Madeline laughed inside. June knocked something over. No one yelled? I listened. Not for a voice, not for a sign. Just the sound of now. I wasn't waiting for the past to change shape. I wasn't folding anything back into place. I was just here, alive. Software unfolded. I kept the last letter. Still folded, still warm in memory, but never sent. Because maybe love is what you give, and dignity is when you stop mailing pieces of yourself to someone who never writes back. And that was enough. No reply, no proof, no return to sender. Some stories don't end. They just stop being sent. You weren't wrong for writing. You weren't weak for waiting. You were just trying to hold on the only way you knew how. If a part of this story felt like yours, you don't have to say it out loud. Just keep it for you.